Hello and welcome to Asianet News Dialogues. We have with us today former Chief Election Commissioner of India, Sri Quraishi. He, along with other four members of the Muslim community, recently met RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat. Welcome, Sri Quraishi, to this interview.
Thank you very much.
You met the RSS Chief recently. So what was the reason for this meeting? Who took the initiative?
A group of friends who have been meeting over lunch, dinner, or coffee, tea. We have been discussing the situation as we see in India today, and we were quite anxious and worried. And we thought to ourselves that maybe we should meet the RSS chief and find out how he views the situation and what are his plans to give a sense of security to such a large community like the Muslims, at about 15% of India. So that's why we requested him to meet us whenever he was in town. We sent an email to him. After a month, we heard from him that he was coming to Delhi, and he met us at the very first opportunity, and it was a very good meeting.
What was the immediate provocation for this meeting? You discussed among yourselves, but what was the main reason for that?
It was going on for some time in our mind. We'd been thinking about it for several months. And when we decided that, yes, a time has come that we should meet him, we sent him an email. He took some time to reply also. So, because we asked him whenever he was coming to Delhi, so that will be convenient. So first time he came to Delhi after our request, he gave us the time.
What was the general feedback about the meeting? Because there were allegations that your meeting indirectly legitimized the RSS and its role in modern India.
So I think that is quite absurd. This is a very silly allegation. After all, we are just a group of retired people, and a motley group and a mixed group of 5 people. 2 of us are retired civil servants. One is a retired vice chief of army staff. One is a journalist. Another is a hotelier. So, and we do not represent the community. We do not represent any organization. So, how will he get legitimized, and what difference does it make to him or the RSS that a group of people met him and expressed our concern? So I think this is a very meaningless allegation.
Many members of the Muslim community must have called you after this meeting. What was the general feedback?
99% feedback was in support that you did the right thing. And even those who were critical, their only criticism was that nothing will happen. Nothing will happen, it will be useless, and nothing will change. So, but at the same time, half of them said that the dialogue is the only way forward. Therefore, there was no question about the importance and the usefulness of the dialogue. The only concern which was expressed by some people that it will not lead to anything. So, which is fine. Because what can we do? We can only make an effort, and the result is in Allah's hand.
There were reports in the papers that you raised many issues, including the animosity between communities and insecurity of the Muslim community. So, what was his response to this?
No, he also expressed concern. He said that they're also concerned and they would like to do something about it. And he says, at the same time, he said that there are sections within his organization and his Hindu society who think differently. Some want good relations. Some feel that what is going on is all right, serves them right, that kind of feeling. So there is no one single opinion in either community. In fact, if at all there was a majority of opinion, it was among the Muslims in favor of the dialogue. And what dialogue? We are not representing any organization, just to some people who go and express our concern to him. And
So, you raised the issues of animosity and also insecurity.
Yes.
So, what was his response to this?
No, his response was that this is something which needs to change, and there will be some concerns. He mentioned there are 2-3 things which provoke the Hindus. For instance, he said that the cow is a very sensitive subject for the Hindus, which we all know. And we said, look, in any case, in most of the country, cow slaughter is banned. And consumption of beef and selling and eating beef is already banned. So if somebody violates it, so prosecute him, take action. But then probably also refer to some states, some parts of the country where there is no law. So I think he implied that the people by voluntary action should try and avoid beef, and which is understandable because, for instance, in my religion, as you know, there is no ban on beef, but I have not touched beef for the last 50 years. Even when I go abroad, because of a cultural influence, because all my friends are Hindus and they avoid beef, and therefore I also learn to avoid beef. So it is not very difficult for Muslims to give up beef. In any case, chicken is cheaper than mutton and beef, by the way. So, and even the medical advice is that avoid red meat and go for white meat. So, on slightest medical advice, we change our food habit. So, why can't we do it for in the interest of the harmony within the country?
But people see this as a fundamental right, what to eat, what to
Yes,
say,
indeed,
etc.
indeed. Yeah, there's no challenge to the fundamental right. That's what I said. That of course it is our fundamental right, but voluntarily you can always give up some right in the interest of the friendship and harmony.
Did he mention states like Kerala on this issue?
No specific mention of Kerala.
But he was advising against eating beef.
That was his suggestion. That was his almost indirect suggestion. He didn't say that everywhere. Otherwise, the government is under his influence. They could have banned it. So they haven't banned it because they do realize that the sensitivity of the minorities also.
Now we can come to two important issues concerning RSS. The RSS continuously termed Muslims in India as Hindu Muslims, but Indian Muslims is the word used by the Muslims in India. So was there a change in the attitude of the RSS chief in this issue after the
Yeah.
dialogue?
No. Originally, they did mention that the concept of Hindu Rashtra is that everybody in India is a Hindu because they were all originally Hindus and they got converted over a period of centuries, and it refers to a geographical area south of the Indus. So therefore, there are Hindu Christians, Hindu Sikhs, Hindu Musalman. So we immediately reacted on that, and our response was that Hinduism may be a geographical identity, but it is also a religion, and Islam is a separate religion. Therefore, to call somebody a Hindu Muslim is absolutely wrong. And he immediately says, "All right, what about calling them Bharatiya Musliman?" So absolutely no problem. Yeah, perfectly. So he says, "Okay, you call yourself Bharatiya Musliman, and we are happy with that."
So the RSS was calling Indian Muslims as Hindu Muslims. Now he is ready to change it into
Yes,
Bharatiya Muslim.
Bharati Musliman, and with which no Musliman will have any objection.
So that means RSS is ready to change their attitude or their belief.
Well, that's a matter of interpretation. I would not be presumptuous to say that because of us he is changing, but that was his response.
But they are ready with the term Bharatiya
No,
Muslim.
his response was instantaneous, it was spontaneous, and very correct, very appropriate. He said, "It's all right." Immediately, he said, "If that is what you think, Bharati Musliman, so be it. Bharati Musliman is fine, acceptable to us and acceptable to the Muslims."
So we can come to the second issue. RSS continuously raised the issue of population. They said that the population of Muslims in India is exploding and it is changing the demographic character of India. Was this issue raised in this meeting? You wrote a book, I think, on population called Population Myth.
Yes, quite right. This issue was not raised by him at all. It was raised by us because I had taken along with me a copy of my book, which is called The Population Myth: Islam, Family Planning, and Politics in India. And I gave it to him, and I said that there are lots of misconceptions about the Muslim population which need to be dispelled. He heard me out very carefully. There are three, fourth points which I made. One, that Of course, the Muslim growth rate is the highest, but not as high as presumed. The gap between Hindus and Muslim population growth was never more than one child. 30 years ago, in National Family Health Survey 1, 91-92, the gap was 1.1, and which has now come down to 0.3. It is coming down. And why is it coming down? Because Muslims are adopting family planning much faster than the Hindus. So this is one point we mentioned to him. Secondly, if there is a large part of Muslim population which is not adopting family planning, there is a second largest section of population which is not adopting family planning is the Hindus. Therefore, to single out the Muslims for non-adoption of family planning is absolutely wrong, because Hindus who are in larger numbers, they are almost 50% of the Hindus and 53% of the Muslims do not accept family planning even today. So we need to work on that. Third, I told him that there is a publicity that Muslims are multiplying and they are increasing the population to capture political power, which I said my book proves that it is absolutely without foundation, because I have not heard any Muslim scholar or a Muslim leader of any significance talking about it. Many ulama, many Maulanas have objected to family planning, saying that it is not permitted in Islam, which by the way is wrong. I have written a whole chapter on that Islam is not against family planning. So, but never for political reasons. Then I pointed out to him that I got a mathematical model done by a very eminent professor of mathematics, Professor Dinesh Singh, and his colleague Professor Ajay Kumar, both of Delhi University. Professor Dinesh Singh was Vice Chancellor. So I asked him to make a mathematical model based on last 70 years data, asking him in how many years Muslims will overtake the Hindus. And what the graphs which he made and the report which he made shows us that not even for 1,000 years. So propaganda that Muslims are just about to take over, they're overtaking the population, is totally baseless, and which comes out very clearly. So I showed him the graphs and from the book, and the conclusion from the mathematical model. And
Was he convinced on this matter?
yeah, the fact that he heard with that rapt attention and did not contradict. He did not contradict me. And finally, I said that there are slogans like "Hum panch, hamare 25, hum char, hamare 40," implying that Muslims have many wives. Routinely polygamy is practiced among the Muslims. So there I pointed out two things to him. One, that there was only one study done in 1975 by Government of India, which found that all communities in the country, all communities had some extent of polygamy. And the least polygamous, the least were the Muslims. So in any case, what I told him very specifically, that in India, polygamy on a large scale, except for this exception, polygamy is just not possible. He asked how, and I explained. I said that there is a concept of gender ratio. How many number of women do we have against the number of men? For every 1,000 population, there are only 940 women. This is according to the last census of 2011. And 940 women versus 1,000 men, and this is the highest in last 100 years. Otherwise, it used to be 920, 925, 930, no, 940. Now, in this situation, there are 60 persons who are bachelors. They cannot find even one wife. So when there are 60 in every 1,000 who can't find a single wife, where will I get my second, third or fourth? So he had a hearty laugh on that, which clearly shows that he registered it. So, and then I gave him the book and I said, sir, get it examined, and if you want any discussion on it, we are always there, I'm there, so we'll come and explain to you further.
So you think in two issues concerning RSS, you could convince the RSS chief?
Well, I would again, as I said, I would not like to be presumptuous to say that we were there to convince. We were just putting across a point of view, and I'm reporting to you his response as we saw.
You mentioned about beef. What were the other concerns raised by Mr. Mohan Bhawal?
Yeah, there were basically two things. The second was that Hindus don't like being called kafirs. So there also we said that original concept of kafir is only, it's an Arabic word for a non-believer. There is one God, Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his Rasul. That is the basic belief of Islam, Muslim. If I believe in it, I am a believer and I am a Mu'min or a Muslim. Those who do not believe in it are in Arabic kafir, but that was a value neutral thing just to express their non-belief in this concept. So, but if it is taken as a term of abuse, as something as a derogatory, so therefore it will be easy. That's what we said, that it will be easy for Muslims to give it up. We don't use it anyway. And we'll ask our friends and whosoever cares to listen to us to avoid using this word. But at the same time, we pointed out, just as Hindus hate the word kafir, Muslims also don't like to be referred to as jihadi and Pakistani at the drop of a hat. All the time, this is something which we have heard hundreds of times. We don't like it either.
Even ministers are using that term.
Ministers are using this, and he immediately says that is wrong, that should be stopped. So that's again a very positive response.
Was there a discussion on Nubur Sharma's statement, because it created a lot of issues inside the country?
No. There was no, and nor was Nupur Sharma our provocation, because our request had gone 2-3 months before our meeting, at least a month and a half before our meeting took place.
Did the RSS chief mention about the murder of a tailor in Udaipur after these statements? Was that issue discussed? Or
I don't
it
think
came
so.
up?
I don't think so. These kind of specific instances, I don't remember if that was mentioned. Yeah.
Okay.
But general perception that the hate speech on both sides is undesirable, that surely was mentioned on both sides.
And that Jan Sabha which took place in Haridwar, that was also...
Yeah, we mentioned that. We mentioned that, and they said there is a call for genocide, and he said he disapproves of it. And then he pointed out that it is not only in our meeting, he says even earlier, he had appealed to the Hindus not to look for a shivling under every mosque. And he repeated that statement, which I think is a very strong and powerful statement, and which needs to go down among the Hindus also more effectively.
Yes, actually I was coming to that question, because Varanasi and Mathura, these issues are being brought up again and again, and some of the issues are in the court.
Yeah.
So what was his attitude? Is RSS behind these issues, or
No, we didn't.
he is staying away from these issues?
No, we also didn't bring up these issues, because in any case we had not gone with a list of grievances. With general sense of insecurity, that is all what we had in mind. Lots of people say that, oh, you didn't discuss this, you didn't discuss CA, you didn't discuss National Population Register, and so we had not gone with a menu card. So it was a general meeting, but at the same time we said that this should not be encouraged by his very positive responses. So we said that it should not be a one-off dialogue. We would like it to continue. And since he keeps traveling and he is very busy, if you could suggest some of his colleagues with whom we could be in touch in future if when required. So he named 3-4 persons that you can be in touch with them individually, collectively, whenever you want. And he says if need arises, sometimes when there is a larger group who wants to interact with me, he says even I could be available.
So can the RSS chief really influence this government? What was your feedback on that?
We didn't specifically question him on that, but that is a general understanding that RSS influence on the government is very strong. And when he speaks, people listen, including the government.
How will you follow up this meeting? Will you meet the Prime Minister now? I think you are writing to the Prime Minister.
No, we haven't yet decided because PM is a lot busier. He is much more busy than anybody else in the country. So we are still thinking, we haven't yet made up our mind that we should also write to him in case he would like to give us time. So we haven't yet taken a final decision on that.
If you are meeting the Prime Minister, then issues like CAA may be discussed.
No, we actually, as I told you, we haven't yet decided whether we are even sending him a request.
Okay.
But if we do, then we will also discuss what are the possible topics to bring up. This might be one topic if we choose to write to him.
Recently, there was a ban on Popular Front. How do you view this decision of the government?
No, we don't know the details about it, what exactly were the facts and the knowledge of the government and why they took this action. I'm sure they must have investigated this issue in detail. So we haven't, amongst ourselves also, we haven't yet discussed this issue at all because it happened subsequently and we haven't met collectively after that. Because, after all, we are 5 individuals, keep traveling different places. So we haven't yet met, but we have no view on that.
And finally, if you believe that the RSS chief can influence the government on these many issues, what changes do you expect to happen?
No, we would just like us, the lowering of the temperature, the control on the hate speech. Because particularly now, man in the street, well, action can be taken. There are lots of laws under the Indian Penal Code. There are several sections of Indian Penal Code which make such people liable to 3 years of imprisonment. So why is it that the government is not proactive in taking action against these people? Take action against half a dozen people and everybody will start behaving. So the indifference of the government is something which you heard many people comment on, and we also feel concerned. Now, political leaders are making hate speeches and no action is taken. If an ordinary person does it, the police becomes hyperactive, and when the political leaders make such speeches, the police will tell you after 3 months that they are still investigating. In fact, police needs to introspect, and their moral authority is getting diluted because when they take a very selective action.
That means you are not satisfied with the actions of the government, but you are satisfied with the answers of RSS Satsang Chalak.
Yes, to the extent we asked him the question, then he responded because it is much more. In 1 hour meeting, 1 hour 20 minutes to be precise, we discussed some issues, but there are many more issues beyond that. We hope that in our follow-up meeting, we will take up those matters also and try and find a middle ground. Surely there has to be a middle ground where, because one thing which the RSS chief repeatedly said, that without the unity of Muslims and Hindus, India cannot progress. He said it repeatedly. Another significant thing which he repeatedly said at least 3 times, that the Indian constitution is supreme and sacrosanct, and everything should be done within the ambit of the constitution. So these two are very significant statements, and they contain a lot of hope.
Thank you very much, Mr. Quraishi, for this interview.
Thank you very much.
আমাদের ভিডিও ভালো লাগলে লাইক এবং শেয়ার করুন। কমেন্ট সেকশনে গিয়ে জানান আপনাদের মতামত। আরও ভিডিও পেতে আমাদের চ্যানেল সাবস্ক্রাইব করুন এবং প্রতি মুহূর্তে খবরের আপডেট পেতে প্রেস করুন বেল আইকন।